I often get quizzed about educational technology and what the future looks like. And I was at a conference recently, and as I was listening to some projections of the future, I ended up tweeting this comment. Tell me when my avatar can attend a virtual classroom being taught by a holographic Malcolm Gladwell or Albert Einstein. And I think about that in terms of the future of education. Anywhere, anytime, on any device, and depending on the learning style that the individual has. And so the whole concept of institutions becomes under question. You start to think about how technology can deliver learning in an on-time, in a real-time basis for students. And so we tend to create schools that are really not for students. They're really for the people who work here. We learn, everything we learn about how students learn says that learning for kids better start around 11 in the morning. But we bundle them up at 7 in the morning in the dead of winter and send them off to some place where it was questionable if they learn anything. And then I always ask, whose idea was it to put 35 14-year-olds in a 700 square foot room and expect anything good to happen? And so if we really believe in mastery learning and individualized learning, then I think technology can be a real tool. And then the facilities that you build, I think, are really more about a facility that has a wide variety of learners in that. Everything from the little preschool kids to seniors. And in a real environment rather than an artificial environment. And that institutions and schools be designed in such a way to foster collaboration amongst the ages and amongst the interests. But we don't do that. We isolate and then we indoctrinate. And that has not proven a good model, and yet we continue to do it. So for example, the government of Alberta says we're going to create these 5 or 6 or 10 new schools. Well, what are they going to look like? They're going to look like the same schools? Why are we doing that again and again and again and over? And when we say to ourselves, is school really about students, or is it really about the system? And the system that includes administration and teachers. And so try to make a change in the educational system. It's impossible. Universities, colleges, K-12 system, show me the change. Show me the difference. Everything that we've learned, we've ignored. And why do we do that? Because we're averse to change and we're not mindful of how things can be and how things should be for our learners. Yeah, I think the expectations of students are really changing. There is all kinds of technology that's available to them. They grow up with it. It becomes part of who they are and how they operate. We have to learn to get over ourselves and thinking that everything that we do and every decision we make is important. Our students are telling us differently. Most institutions are running around trying to, let's get Twitter and let's get Facebook, because the students are on Twitter and Facebook. Well, yes they are, but not on your Twitter and not on your Facebook, because they're not interested in you. When it comes to the institution, when it comes to the choices that they make, it's really about what program do you have, how much is it going to cost, what are the textbooks, what are the courses I'm going to take, and what's the student experience going to be in the institution that I'm coming to. Students want us to deliver to them what they need, when they need it, and how they would like it. We start to think about how we think they should receive it and how they think they should get it, and we try to be cool. Well, we're not cool. We'll never be cool. They'll never think we're cool, and we have to stop trying to be cool. Let's start to be professional. Figure out what it is that's required for them to be successful. Include them in the decisions that we make and how we go forward, and then adjust to their needs. This isn't about student as customer. The student is not a customer. The student is not a client. We perform an important function in society, and we need to be partners with our learners. And our learners aren't just 19 anymore. Average age in college is 28. And so what is a learner that has a family at home or a single parent with a couple of kids? You know what? They're not interested in the pub. They're not interested in going to a basketball game. They're interested in getting what they need, when they need it, and how they need it. And we have to move away from the one-size-fits-all approach, or we'll never be successful. And the only way we can do it is to include our learners in the decisions that we make in an institution. So the question becomes, how do you include learners in the decision-making of an institution? We do that very well at Red Deer College. One of my executive limitations, decided upon by the board of which I'm a member, is that we will collaborate appropriately with students on every decision that we make. We've made it part of how we operate our institution. The biggest problem that we face, of course, in any institution is what I call confirmation bias. That if you believe students have nothing to offer, then all you do is pay lip service to what they say. If you believe they have value, that they have a perspective that's important, And even though their experience may be limited, it still adds value to the entire process. So confirmation bias that students don't know anything, or they don't have any experience, or they can't add any value, hinders an institution from moving forward. It's the same thing as faculty. You might say administrators are evil and they don't know what they're doing, and they look for evidence to support that bias. And where administration might think that faculty, really don't know anything either. And so you feed these confirmation biases, and it stops an institution from moving forward. Once you acknowledge those biases and you remove those barriers and you collaborate, you sit down with folks and make good decisions together, then I think your institution will move forward. As president, although, I realize that ultimately the best way that I can lead an organization is through experience, intuition, and advice. And the advice that I get needs to include the stakeholders in this institution, from the students, to faculty, to staff, and to the community members, ultimately, whom we serve. One of the strengths of Red Deer College is the comprehensive nature of what we do and the students that we serve. We have programming all the way from apprenticeship, programming all the way to degree and degree completion. So it's quite common in this institution to see a wide variety of interests and students. It really is a microcosm of society in the sense that there's a great variety of folks who have different interests and different aspirations coming together and in a collaborative way. And one of the learnings of the future, we believe, is that how do you integrate that learning? And let me give you an example. Over in our sprinkler technology program, we have one of the greatest labs in Western Canada. And if you look at that, it looks like that game of plumbing where you put all these pieces together. So what you'll see is apprenticeship students over there. And then from our arts program, you'll see students over there sketching and drawing both the students in that program and the technology that they're using. So it's a perfect example of that integration. And when we built the 4 centers, the Center of Visual Arts was adjacent to our Center for Trades and Advanced Manufacturing. So we're trying to encourage that cross-pollination, that cross-culturalization of students, so they realize that the world isn't just their program. We can find ways to connect disparate programs in ways that make for meaningful educational programming. As president of Red Deer College, to me, and being a futurist and someone who's always looking forward, I think it's really important to imagine what this institution could become. And as we look 10 and 20 and 30 years out, we realize that there will need to be significant changes to this institution as we evolve and grow. And I think being aware of that enables you to do some planning up front. So for example, as we look at our land use master plan, we're trying to evolve this institution as an institution that will incorporate technology, realize the way our learners of Central Alberta learn, and provide the facilities and the technologies to enable that to take place. And so we realize that as an institution of 8,000 daytime, full-time students, that we're soon going to be 10,000, and then 12,000, and then 15,000. What does that look like? But not only in terms of facilities and space, but also in terms of how we deliver programming to students. I think the second thing that's really important as we imagine this evolution of this campus is that we're moving away from the automobile as being the center of this campus. And everything that we're doing evolves around the campus as a community in the center, and the external parts of the campus being the place where vehicles go. We want everything in the middle to be walking and grass and water and a sense of community. Unlike many institutions which simply have places where you drive in your car and then you get in your car and drive to the next building and park. We need to move away from a culture of car, and we've incorporated that into our planning. So there's educational planning, what are our learners going to need? There's space planning, what's that going to look like for collaborative, social-based learning? And then the third piece is what are the spaces going to feel like for the people who live, work, and study here?